All right.
Oh, look, Monday morning, time to bring it in. It's True Hoops, little Zoom from quarantine show. I'm not going to say that quarantine thing forever, I guess, right? At some point, we will be unquarantined. Tom, for instance, is in another new location today.
Yeah, I'm in the mountains of North Carolina. It's a beautiful blue sky day, a breeze. It's really beautiful here in the mountains. I'm visiting my in-laws for Easter and just hanging out on a Monday afternoon. Still can't believe that NCAA Final Four game. I'm just still riding that high, which you watched. You watched very,
Henry took copious notes of that game, except he
Yeah.
just didn't see any of it.
Oh, you did?
There's a lot of competition for the TV. Like no one in my house wants to watch basketball. So, and I can't stay up very late anymore because I'm old. So like I just don't watch as much basketball as I used to. It's just where we are. But you guys watched. You're brilliant. You know a lot about it. I think you should just drive the conversation. Like,
well, I'll just say that I read Coach Thorpe's piece today, and spot on. Watching Jalen Suggs, it's just that guy seems like a prototypical NBA player, right, Coach?
I mean, I didn't know he was going to do what he did when I wrote this. I wrote it last week, and I didn't really know anything about Jalen Suggs. Just as I was writing about Mike Conley, and I'm sure we'll talk about the piece. As I'm watching Gonzaga play, I thought, yeah, this guy he is where the game is going now. If you can find a Luka Doncic, congratulations. The 6'8" point guard. Giannis Antetokounmpo, great. But the little guy's coming back a little bit. Not that he's so little. He's probably 6'2", 6'3". I think the list is 6'4". I don't think he's 6'4". But that game, first of all, I watched, I think, 3 NBA games, and then the college game was on one of my TVs in my office. I hadn't had the volume on. So there's no drama. It's just scores. Both teams are scoring nonstop. And finally, at some point, my stupid brain clicks in and like, maybe you should listen to this because an upset is in the making. An 11 seed it's not just beating a 1 seed. It was the undefeated 1 seed, loaded with talent and lottery picks, at least one lottery pick in Suggs, the point guard. And so, yeah, I ended up having the volume on for the end of regulation and overtime. It was great. I'm not a fan of UCLA's coach. I told you off air. I can't argue with what they've done. And, a lot of people, guys, not that we're going to go into college much, but a lot of people rip college now because so many kids transfer. Yeah. And I understand that side of it, the transfer portal, they call it. It's very easy to transfer in a way that it didn't used to be before. I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Tom, but I think UCLA's best player is a Kentucky transfer.
Yep.
Right? He was at Kentucky. He's very good, and he was not doing much at Kentucky, and he's fantastic now. Is he considered a first-round pick?
I would say a late first round. Yeah. First round pick.
So it was exciting. But basically we have, just to get through it now, Henry, we have the 2 best college teams all season, of which I've never seen Baylor play. I did see the game they just destroyed Houston.
My man, not watching. That's good. I support that.
I don't watch much college either. But they've been 1 and 2 pretty much all year, haven't they, Tom?
Yeah. I'm going to say yes, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they've been 1 and 2 almost all season. And so we got the Correct. 2 best teams, and knowing firsthand what I know about how hard this year has been for college teams, it's great to have the 2 best teams. And now there's great games in the NBA tonight too, so I'll be watching them, at least one of them beforehand. But no, it's going to be a great game tonight.
Okay, so David, Judy, do you mind scrolling to the little picture in this article? You're going to have to explain why you like Jalen Suggs so much. Oh, what the hell? I see what you're saying. Where did it go?
I don't see it.
Just describe the picture, okay. Henry.
First box, second box. David uses these terms, and Mike Conley is a genius at getting to what you call the second box, which is just below the free throw line, which you think is going to become incredibly important real estate, and real estate Jalen Suggs can access. Why is it going to be more important in the future than it has been so far?
Well, so we always hear a lot of talk about, the mid-range is gone or whatever. And I don't really know that it's well defined. 19-foot shots, I think, are called mid-range. I don't call them that. To me, you want to try to get a foot in the paint, because the way to get to be efficient as an offensive player, besides just obviously making shots, is also to get fouled, because those are points that you can get without even counting as a shot unless you make the shot. and then it's an and one. And I've always felt like, and I don't know if anyone's ever studied this, when you get hit as a shooter, the chance of it being called a foul go up when you're in the paint. When you're shooting an 18-foot shot and you get hit, it's just not called nearly as much, unless maybe you're a superstar, which is one reason why you get to be a superstar. They keep calling those fouls. So if you get to the first box, which is the 8 feet in the paint in front of the rim, well, there's a 7-foot guy there very often. And so you can get there all you want. You're not making that nearly as much. The big guys make a big difference. So you've got to get to the second. What we always teach is get to the second box and then read the first box and then read the help on the perimeter if you should kick out. And so as this game evolves into pressuring three-point shooters more, because more and more teams are shooting threes than ever, and we document this a little bit in the piece, as they extend out, now you're giving up potentially rim shots, which are high-level shots, but you want to have a big guy down there to protect, which of course every team is looking to do that. And so what's left? The second box. The big guy is protecting the rim. That little area from 8 to 15 feet in the paint is the open space. If you guard the perimeter and take care of the rim, that little area I think is where we should be targeting. I've always tried to coach my players to get there for a long time. And what I write about in the piece is Mike Conley is just this fundamental jet of a player still in his 30s. He's having basically a career season, and he lives in that second box. His right-hand floater is one of the best weapons in the game, has been for a long time. He can't really jump, at least not the way he used to, and he was never amazing as a jumper. He's quick and fast. And so I think our league is to start looking for more guards like that can get to the second box and make a play without having to take 7 or 8 dribbles like Harden and Kyrie and those guys. Because the defense can focus on them more. The guys that get to the second box quickly, I think, have a big advantage. And so these little quick guys like Suggs, who's not that little, but he's much below average for an NBA player, and even for that position probably. I think those guys have a big advantage going forward.
And you talk about Harden as like obviously an absolute wizard and would probably adjust to whatever they did. But when he's taking 7 or more dribbles, one thing that's not happening is the defense scrambling.
Right.
Well, they know where the ball is, right? They know.
Right. Part of his genius is what's happening. You just can't stop it. But there's just so few of those guys. So
Mike Conley slipping in. The point is the defense is like, shit, we don't know where this attack is coming from, right?
The quicker ball movement. I mean, Steve Kerr built an offense around this. The Spurs have built offenses around this, right? This is the Utah Jazz play this way. It's one reason why Mike Conley's doing so well is they just don't require as many dribbles.
Yeah, and everyone's a live ball, right? Like everyone when they're driving, Mike Conley is a live ball to shoot efficiently. And the more weapons you can have to always be a live ball, where it's if they pull up, it's going to be a good shot. If they pass, it's going to be a good pass. It's just how do you defend Mike Conley in space when there's Rudy Gobert at the rim? It's like you got to pick your poison. Like, am I going to stop the floater, which he's money on, or am I going to stop the lob, which is going to be a bucket? Or am I going to stop the 3-point shot? And so you have 3. It's not a classic triple option or triple threat, but you have 3 options right there. If you're Mike Conley getting into the paint, it's all just bad options.
And the more you dribble it, the more defenses can figure stuff out. The example I use, I don't know if you guys grew up playing baseball, but before every pitch, you're thinking. I mean, I played baseball and I coached it. What do I do? Guys on first base, left-handed hitter, my pitcher is pitching, and he tends to be a faster pitcher, which means they're going to be late on a swing. They're probably going to push the ball as opposed to pulling it, which is left to right. You're thinking, okay, if it comes to my left, I'll make this play. Well, you can't do that against the Jazz. If the ball's popping, the ball's pinging. You can do it against Harden. It just so happens it's like Nolan Ryan. You knew a fastball was coming. You just couldn't get around on it. Well, there's not very many Nolan Ryans. There's not very many James Harden, Steph Curry's, Luka's. But there's more Jalen Suggs out there, and I think they're going to be more valuable than they used to be because you can build an offense around it at an elite level like Utah has.
Yeah, Utah, I want to just point out real quick that Joe Ingles is now shooting 50% from three.
He's a joke. They have 6 guys better than 39%, plus Jordan Clarkson at 35, but really a weapon. So that's 7 guys.
And half this stuff Mike Conley's doing in the second box is with the wrong hand, right?
Well, he happens to have which is one reason why I think he reminds Jalen Suggs made me think of Conley in part. He doesn't have a left-hand floater like Conley's got a right-hand floater, and Conley's left-handed, but he's got a great left hand. If you look at Jalen Suggs' tape like I did, he's got a phenomenal left hand for a freshman in college.
Yeah.
I've coached seniors in college that were All-Americans that didn't have as good a weak hand as Suggs has as a freshman. So, yeah, Conley just has a little right hand, little floater. It's incredible. He's got a little pull-up jumper, too, off 2 feet. But the bigger thing, too, Henry, is he just doesn't dribble very much compared to the Hardens and Lucas. He gets there quickly, and he's fundamental. He's just basic. But basic works because the system works better with the guy that doesn't dribble too much.
I want you to use your big basketball brain to talk me through this. Like, speed is a weird thing in basketball. Like, for instance, I was at a restaurant and there was an NBA team across the way in the restaurant, and there was a big screen showing a game, and Leandro Barbosa checked in, and their dinner like stopped.
Yeah,
because they were like they love watching Barbosa.
So right?
Yeah, and Blair. Yeah,
so fast, but like didn't dominate, right? Like he didn't like own the league or anything, but like. Why is speed sometimes like so incredibly important? Why would you maybe take Jalen Suggs first overall, even though he's like a 6'2" guy who can't shoot that well? But Leandro Barbosa is not like winning championship after championship. Like how does speed work?
Well, so first of all, I'm not at all ready to say where I would take Suggs. I have to study it a lot more. But everyone thinks he's top 5, so you're not crazy to say that. And he might be leading a team to go undefeated for the first time since 1976. So it's a pretty good year to be a Jalen Suggs. So in Barbosa's case, I don't know how skilled he really was. He was super fast. Like in baseball, he would have a lot of stolen bases. That dude went 0 to 60 in 2 steps. He was a blur. And apparently, and I mean this, maybe the most liked teammate of anyone I've ever talked about ever. Right? Am I right?
Amin Al-Hassan was telling me that he heard that Barbosa could play for the Warriors right now. He's an assistant coach right now with the Warriors, but like he's killing dudes in practice, killing them because of that speed. They can't stay with him. And like when he came back from his ACL injury, he tore his ACL, came back and played for the Warriors, and he was still blowing by dudes. And it was just like, man, this guy is incredible.
I had forgotten about how fast. When I think about speed, I had forgotten about how fast he was. Yeah. So I think part of the problem with speed is you get yourself in trouble if you can't control it, right? That's what college is all about. College is super fast guys who run right to the corner or right into the trap or right to where you're not supposed to be. You have to be able to manage that speed. If you have a sports car and only go full speed, you're going to be in jail a lot, right? You have to be able to manage it. And so this is where poise comes in and where college players play the game, pros read the game. But I think it's the single biggest mitigating factor when you have a deficiency. In other words, you can go from below average to average quickly just with quickness and speed because it's hard for someone to adjust to it. You have to grab the guy. If you know how to use your quickness, you have to grab the guy. That's a foul. You have to impede him. That's a foul. So those players like Suggs that are really quick and poised, right, and skilled, going left, going right. I mean, right away, again, you're top 5 guy. Even though you're not a good shooter, I think you said he's 30-something% and probably taking a lot of good shots as opposed to some guys have to force a lot. Like Anthony Edwards, if he ever got shot selection, might end up being a pretty good shooter.
Shot selection.
Right. You ever figured that out? Suggs already has pretty good shot selection because everyone's open all the time with the way they play. And so it's a little bit concerning, to be honest with you, that Suggs isn't a good shooter yet. But what I said to you, Henry, before we got on the air is Derrick Rose and John Wall and Russell Westbrook, they never had to worry about shooting because nobody could stay in front of them. And I think that's probably the same with Suggs. Give him time. Right? We're going to talk more later, I think, about we shouldn't be judging players too quickly when they're young because the NBA forces them to develop lots more things. You can't just get away with any one thing. I think Suggs in time will probably get it.
I would say, to counter your point about don't worry if you can't shoot, as long as he shoots when there's no seconds left and the bank is open, he's going to make that basket. When he's going to time. Henry, what? So you don't know what happened.
I did see that play.
I said it to him this morning. He had no idea.
So I ran some of the stats this morning on Suggs because I was curious what his comp at the NBA level might be just based off of his college stats. And this is, oftentimes a fruitless game, but his top comps statistically are like Ben Simmons and Lonzo Ball. And that pass that he made in the open court, when he blocked the shot at the rim and then got the ball back and went full speed, fast break, and threw a one-handed like full court bounce pass to a running layup for his teammate.
Dunk.
To a dunk. Unbelievable. I mean, the block itself, I mean, people are arguing whether it was a foul or not, but the fact that he contested as a 6'3", 6'5" guy.
I think he's listed 6'4". I'd say 6'3", 6'2".
He contested at the rim in the closing minutes of a Final Four game, blocked the shot, might have been a foul, who cares? He contested it very well, got the ball back, and threw a one-handed 40-foot bounce pass in stride on the money for a dunk. It was insane. And then a couple minutes later, he hits the game winner in the open court. So, like, this guy is super talented. And Kevin Pelton at ESPN, the Machine, I call him.
Yeah.
The Machine said, like, a few months ago, he said, if you were to build an NBA prospect in a lab, it would look a lot like Jalen Suggs.
Nice.
Defensively, he gets after it.
Yeah.
He averages 1.9 steals per game on low minutes. He dedicates himself defensively. Like, he really cares about it, which is something that Ben Simmons, again, another comp, really cares about defense. And that's really unheard of when you got a guy who can do all the things offensively and he gives a shit defensively. I just love watching him play. And, it's really, I can't wait to watch tonight's game, but I just, man, that game between those two powerhouses, and the fact that Gonzaga lost so heartbreakingly with Adam Morrison against UCLA in the tournament. It was just an iconic game. Henry.
Oh, I didn't realize that was against UCLA.
That was against UCLA with Luke Mbamute. There was Darren Collison. Who's the big? Now I'm blanking on the big.
Ryan Hollins.
Ryan Hollins, exactly. Good call. Just NBA players all over the place. And that was against UCLA. So the fact that it was back to this matchup, it was really cool. But I guess we spent like 20 minutes on college hoops. How about that? That's pretty cool.
I'm proud of us. Proud of us.
Just to finish it, so you were talking about his passing, Tom. Watch his pick and roll tape. Like it makes me just think of Mike Conley. That's why it was a perfect thing that happened. Mike, the difference between him and Mike at this age is Mike was more of a pure quarterback. And I think the league, even though Jalen Brunson's playing very well for Dallas, I think the league is moving away from the less weaponized quarterback guards and more into the scoring guys that also can really pass. Of course, that's another level of skill. Suggs tries to score more. The way if Conley played his whole career, well, let's rephrase that. If Memphis allowed Conley to play and didn't go with two bigs, the way they're playing now in Utah, he'd have been a 10-time All-Star. Like, he's incredibly efficient, shoots the three great, kills in the second box, plays defense. That's the way Suggs plays now. I think if he goes to the right team that shoots a lot of threes and opens that court up, he's going to be a multiple-time All-Star.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned quarterback. Did you know Jalen Suggs was an all-state quarterback or was award-winning quarterback in high school in Minnesota?
Recruited by Ohio State, Alabama. There's nothing else to say. Yeah. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
This guy's so good.
I didn't know that until I looked it up when I was writing my article. Like this again last week. I'm like, yeah, no surprise. He's a weaponized quarterback. He didn't throw the ball very much. He just wanted the ball in his hands and let him go figure out how to kick your ass. That's what he did.
Oh man, that is so cool. That is
watch the game tonight. Watch the Utah Dallas game first. Huh?
Okay, so like people talk about the pendulum swinging from like threes and back. So Mike Conley is having this success because he's on a roster where the rule is basically everybody who isn't named Rudy or Derek has to shoot threes, right? Like that's exactly why Mike Conley his speed is such a good weapon, right? And now we're saying that there's a college player who has that speed and decision making and handle, who could be really good in the NBA, even though he doesn't shoot threes, right? So like you see the pendulum swinging back a little bit, right? It's like the 3-point shooters all over the court. Also Ben Simmons, another comp, right? Like Ben Simmons is like available to be super awesome because there's space on the court for him to use his speed, right? Like it's this could be how this pendulum swings back a little bit, right? Is there'll be some superstars like Ben Simmons and Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, but I'm going to write something maybe next week about the way to guard it, how do you handle this new thing and little quick guys on offense, which is more super long, quick athletic guys on defense at the 5 spot. I did text with an executive this weekend about getting rid of the 3-second defense rule that we talked about. And he completely agreed, but said, not my idea of, well, do you think they'll be guarding threes better? And we didn't ask him. I just asked what he thought about the rule. He said, well, they should get rid of it because they don't call it anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah, he's right. So just get rid of it. And then the coaches really dive. There is a hell of a penalty. If you get caught 3 seconds on defense, that's a point for the other team. Like, you can't be just giving those points away. So take it away and let the Tom Thibodeaus of the world really tinker with new defenses to see. I think it'd be really cool. So
I think Tom Thibodeau already does this. And sure. one of the things that I wrote about in the playoffs last year was the Toronto Raptors had this wrinkle, and the Milwaukee Bucks did it too, is they just had Brook Lopez just sitting in the paint, Giannis sitting in the paint and daring their officials to call 3 seconds, and then they wouldn't. And so what'd they do? They just did it the entire game. Kyle Lowry did it on, forget which play it was, an amazing defensive play that he made in the closing seconds of a playoff game last year. And it was because he just sat in the paint, illegal defense the entire possession, and he knew the officials aren't going to call defensive 3 seconds all game, but definitely not in the last 10 seconds of the game. Right. So he just camped out in the middle of the paint and said, dare you to call this fucking call. And they wouldn't. And so it was an amazing defensive play, but also it was just a lot of intelligence where he knew that these are the little edges in the game that you find. Referees are not going to call that play. And so you can use that to your advantage. And if you have a bad 3-point shooter over there in the corner, just camp out in the paint. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that now because it's just so hard to defend in today's NBA. I'm with Gerard. Like, it'd be great for the NBA to get rid of that rule, simply because what's the point of a rule if it isn't enforced?
We should have a fun little competition. Anybody let's try to find the longest camp out, longest clip of video camp out in the lane we can find.
Okay. I'll win that. I've seen 10-second ones many times.
I got to pull up this article because like some of them were like 13 seconds.
Marc
Gasol is amazing at this too. And I had one executive who was just telling me, he's like, I send all of these clips to the league and they said, yeah, we missed it. And there was like 7 of them that they missed in the game. And like, it's very rare to get the NBA to cop to like, we made a mistake there, but there was just like tons of defensive 3-second calls that they just don't call anymore. So
that's one of those ones that like a computer could call it too, right? Like, I mean, like the fault line in tennis or whatever, right? Like you could put that machine and be like, oh, Marc Gasol's been in there for 3 seconds, and it would just go beep. But
100%. So, like Joakim Noah made famous, or at least in NBA geek world, is 2.9ing, where he just like camp out in the paint for 2.9 seconds and then do a little dance outside the paint to reset and clear. But some teams just camp out there with no regard.
I remember I watched a Sixers game, Iverson era Sixers, with Pete Vesey was the guy sitting next to me, and we played a fun game of like Dikembe Mutombo with just like, in a 24-second possession, and they were 24-second possessions. Like Dikembe Mutombo would be like 23.8 seconds, just right in that perfect piece of property, right in front of the rim. And every once in a while, boop, he'd like reach out a long leg and kind of like just tap outside for a second, and like, but you could just he just parked there.
When I was a high school coach, we had a very, very successful low post player. I've talked about him before. He was ended up being a great college player. And I told him, we want 1 3-second call a half on offense. Because for every one you get, there's 5 to 10 you're not getting. And we're going to just crush teams. And so every time he got one, we would say, we're going to scream and yell at you because we want the referees to think that we're on their side. But just know we're cheering you. Yeah, don't get the second one though, but we'll take 1.5 for sure. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so devious.
I was devious for sure.
Well, and this, if you haven't read David's article, this is totally related because the idea is that the big man's gonna be camping out, which means it's 4-on-3 guarding the 4 shooters around the perimeter, which is exactly why Mike Conley can slice through that defense like a laser. Like this is how it's all part of David's master plan for NBA 2025.
Yeah. That's how this whole thing started. I just started thinking about what the games will look like in 4 or 5 years. And so it's like anything else. If you punch a guy in the stomach a lot, he's going to lower his hands and you're going to get him in the jaw, as in boxing, and vice versa is true if you go for the head. More teams, I heard this. I've not found this. Maybe Tom saw this written, but I heard that the Jazz had made at least 10 threes in 75 consecutive games. That's an outrage, and I don't think anyone's close to that. I'm not really sure what the record was, but that is the record. And I think we have in the article a whole bunch of teams are shooting 35 or whatever threes a game. And it used to be a couple of years ago, the Rockets took 36 a game and no one else was there. And now we got almost half the league there. In a couple of years, it will be more than half the league. So how do you zig and zag, right? It's all about zigging and zagging. You can't all just do the same thing. And then, because if you do that, then only the team with the most talented players will win. So you've got to find ways to win without the most talent. Take advantage of these new strategies and innovate. So yeah, I just think that we're going to see more attacking that soft middle, but you've got to have shooters in order for that to happen. And Utah has, Utah is the best team in the league now for a reason. Without any first-team All-NBA players, except for maybe Rudy, but I don't think Rudy will get it because Embiid and Jokic are going to get it because they're going to be top 2 for MVP voting.
Yeah.
Right? Not that Rudy isn't deserving of MVP votes. He is. But he only scores 15, 16 a game. So he's not going to get it. But the Jazz do you know the 3 longest win streaks in the league are all by the same team?
Oh, wow.
It's incredible. And I keep saying it. They should be considered the favorites to win it all. Because it's not like people are saying, oh, well, when LeBron James or Anthony Davis or Kevin Durant or James Harden or Kyrie, when they're healthy, they're going to be gangbusters. And my thing is, how do we know they're going to be healthy? Like we keep expecting that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to be 100% in the playoffs. And that's why people are nervous about putting the Jazz at number 1. The Jazz are blowing the doors off of everybody. Like until I see LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant and James Harden healthy and Joel Embiid playing consistently, not just one game, but consistently healthy, I still have the Jazz as the favorite. Like this is kind of like Steph Curry in 2014, where people were just coming up with excuses not to bet on the Jazz or not to believe in Steph Curry and the Warriors. Right. And then they just like ran the doors off people and it was over. And we were like, wait, what just happened?
You just stole my thunder, you son of a bitch. I said to this executive this weekend, I think we're looking at the Warriors in 2015. The difference is they don't have Steph Curry, so there isn't that target, that bullseye to focus on. But this is a team built, and of course, Durant came 2 years later, but this is a team built like that team with the way they play on both ends. Don't forget, on both ends. I think we're looking at a 2-3 year run where they're going to be the best team in the league. Doesn't mean they win the championship. A lot of things can happen, but they're the best team.
Well, Brad Stevens said they remind me of the 2014 Spurs. Like they got killed by the Jazz, and after the game, he's like, I mean, that is as good as a team as I've seen in the last few years, and they remind me a lot of the Spurs 2014 that beat LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in the final.
Destroyed them. Yeah.
So
I took note of George Yang saying to you, Tom, that like after their plane debacle, he was already like it sounded completely natural, like, oh, very stressful thing. Thought we were going to die. And each one of these things is only going to bring us closer together. And I was like, shit, I think he really believes that. And if he really believes that, that's terrible for all the other teams, right? Because
and what did they do? What did they do to, was it Chicago? They blew him out by like,
it was Memphis.
They blew him out by 70 points,
and Orlando, who almost won last night. I mean, they embarrassed Orlando too. I watched Gobert and Donovan talk. Rudy used to be very emotional, all right, on the court. I'm not breaking news here. I found him to be much more scientific more recently this year. He doesn't react like he used to. He still gets mad sometimes. Nothing close to where it used to be. I still think there's ways he can get better. He doesn't kick it out quite as much as he should. He thinks contested shots inside are okay because he's 7 foot whatever. And I think he doesn't really have a fake pivot game, which would help him a lot like Jokic does. But they meet up and talk as a team a lot on the court. I don't know that they did that nearly as much before. And they don't have Ricky Rubio, which is a good thing for them.
Their net rating, their margin of victory is 10.
Yeah, right.
You get in the 10, the double-digit threshold in NBA history, that's filled with champions.
Right.
Yeah. And if they're not champions, it's because they lost to the champion that was 10.
And they've got like 30 clutch minutes the whole year, like to your point. Like there's no important minutes in their games. This is pretty rare, yeah. So,
and you know what? This is really stupid math, but like David, when you said that they basically always make 10 threes, in my head, part of me was like, well, you kind of have a 10-point lead, right? Like
Yeah.
And that's exactly how they finished. Right?
Right.
They had 18 threes before halftime. It's insane. Like
Yeah.
it's incredible what they're
Yeah.
doing. And
Yeah.
it'd be cool to watch Utah win because it would quiet down a lot of the big market.
No, it won't.
Like,
No, it won't. Nothing will quiet down. Nothing.
And guys, we haven't
There's
said
no
his name
force
yet.
that stops the ocean. Like,
We haven't said his name yet. And he might be the third best player on their team because Rudy and Mike Conley have had phenomenal seasons. But Donovan Mitchell is young. I don't think he can even rent a car without paying extra money yet. I don't think he's close to 25. He's like 23, and he's getting better and on a run. And we know he didn't break 50 once against the Nuggets. He did it twice. He had 57 in the game. That dude is just, and he tries to dunk on everybody. And I might be wrong, but I think he's also one of those guys over 40% from three. Like 6 or over 39.6 or whatever it is. 5 or literally over 40. He's one of them. And he's their best one-on-one player. They just need to not mess up because they're really rolling. Yeah, I think they're on a 9-game win streak now. Again, now they go to play Dallas tonight in Dallas, which will be a real test. Dallas is, if you look at the last 10 games, they're 1-2 in net margin. And if you look at the last 15 games, they're 1-3. Utah's won in both 10 or 15 game runs. Dallas is 2-3. So it's a battle of two really, really good teams tonight. And the Jazz are going for win number 10 after already having an 11-game win streak and a 9-game win streak too.
so I talked to Tom half an hour ago, and there's a little bit of bad news for the Lakers in this. Like we were all trained on LeBron here, right? Like, you don't count out LeBron, just don't. All right, it's stupid. I don't care what the numbers say. Like, but in that, like, we were noticing, Tom, you can explain the guts of it if you want, but basically, like, on 538, you can compare the player-based tracking or the ELO forecast. And so in the player ratings-based one, look at this. The Nets are the favorite. So this adds Kevin Durant to the analysis as a healthy player. And now it's 38% Nets. But if you click on, Judy, this is a little tricky. Yeah, ELO. And then if you click on chance of winning finals, on the rightmost column, there we go. Okay, now it's Jazz by a country mile, right? Yeah. So we can talk about this, but what I would point out is that in both lists, the Lakers are 7th or 10th, which means when they factor in Anthony Davis and LeBron James back on the Lakers, they still can't crack the top 5. Can't crack the top 5.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Part of it is Anthony Davis did not look great when he did play this year. People forget that. It is like when they actually did have Anthony Davis, he wasn't himself. And whether that's running on low fuel from, the championship run and the quick turnaround, or whether he was banged up already with the Achilles and we just didn't know about it, he didn't look right. And then you factor in the fact that they probably already know that they're going to be in, cruise control in the regular season. And so their performance might be a little bit understating how good they are. But that's not a good look for the Lakers. And I still think, like, people are expecting LeBron James and Anthony Davis to come back and be healthy and win the championship because they did it last year. But man, I would fade the Lakers this season. LeBron James is going to be out for a little longer with his ankle injury. And last time that he came back from a long layoff with the groin injury a couple years ago, they just shut him down for the rest of the season because they weren't competing for a championship. But we still don't know, like, if LeBron misses a month and a half in the regular season, like, how long that takes him to ramp up and get good again. We don't know the answer to that at this age. So Lakers don't look great. The Jazz, just to explain it in a nutshell, the Jazz are blowing the doors off of teams, and they've had a really tough schedule this season. And so their ELO rating is going to look amazing because all the ELO rating looks at is your margin of victory and then adjusts for your competition. The Raptor rating is looking at, oh my God, this team has Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and it has no knowledge of their injury history or that they're injured or anything like that. And so it's just saying when those three players are going to play together, they're going to be just gangbusters. So I still don't think Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving are going to win the championship this year for a lot of reasons. I still think the Utah Jazz will, but it is fascinating to watch the NBA this season because there are a lot of variables at the top, a lot of uncertainty at the top. And it could be in the making that Utah Jazz just run away with this.
I think identity is something that I've always kind of looked at. I think it's hard to create identity. You have to draft for it. You have to acquire players, then you have to build it in your culture. And I love the Lakers' identity last year. We wrote about it a bunch of times. They smashed you. That they were a glitzy sounding team, LeBron James, Lakers, but they led the league in dunks and they led the league in block shots. That didn't mean nothing, right? That had meaning. And then we wrote about this earlier this season where they got rid of McGee and Howard, who were part of that identity, and added Marc Gasol. And Montrezl Harrell has been great, by the way. Not even good. Not even very good. Great. But the identity is not quite the same, even though they're playing great defense until these last injuries. And now they're adding Drummond, which means they're trying to figure it out. I just don't know if there's enough time left. The Jazz are rolling right now, and so are the Nuggets. These are teams that they know exactly who they are and where they're going, and that's very, very helpful as we get to the stretch run here when you have so little practice time to begin with. So I like Denver, Utah more than anyone right now on the list.
I was talking to someone with the Jazz, and they were saying the whole Rudy Gobert playing like 29 minutes a game this season is so underrated. Is the fact that a lot of these guys are not playing huge minutes because what we saw a few years ago with the Warriors is they just don't play 4 quarters. They don't need to play 40 minutes a game to win. They need to play 28 minutes of really good basketball, and then they just get the victory and go home. So that's going to pay dividends, I think, in the playoffs as well.
Oh, I agree. And they're deep. They play 9 every game minimum.
Yeah.
Even a close game, they play 9. I mean, the Yangs are 9th man at 14, 15 minutes a game. So they shouldn't have the issues a lot of these other temes will have.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Warriors. I need to talk about the Warriors here.
It's time for the James Wiseman fight.
No.
I watched. All right. So the Warriors, it was abysmal last night watching that offense. Steph Curry is a transcendent player, all-time great player. James Wiseman could be an amazing player, but together right now at this stage, it's disgusting. The basketball is disgusting. Their on-court rating together, on the court together, Steph Curry and James Wiseman last night was 82.5 offensive rating, 82.5, which is like the worst offense of all time. Okay.
And you don't think it's Steph's fault? Just throwing that out there.
Well, when Steph,
what is it for the season? I'm just curious.
102.
So low, so bad.
Really bad. When you have Steph Curry with Wiseman off the floor, they go to 118. Steph Curry without Wiseman on the floor, Kevon Looney, insert offensive player here, 118, which is right there with the Milwaukee Bucks and Brooklyn Nets, right? Last night on the floor, Steph Curry +8, off the floor -14. For the season, the Warriors are +104 with Steph Curry on the floor, -212 with him off the floor. And the problem is you see Steph Curry catering to James Wiseman when he's on the floor, feeding him these mid-range jumpers in the pick and roll, the pick and pop, trying to get him involved and trying to get his confidence up, but it neutralizes Steph Curry. So a lot of it is just they're trying to force feed Wiseman to get him to learn on the fly, but Steve Kerr benched James Wiseman down the stretch in last night's game. Wiseman amazingly got a rebound off a free throw, right? Which almost never happens. It was I forget who was at the free throw line. He got the rebound, offensive rebound off a free throw, and then went up and instead of dunking it all over everybody, he just threw it off the backboard and it went into the bench pretty much. It was disgusting. And Steve Kerr pulled him like a minute after that. Like, if you're that big and your arms can stretch to the ceiling, just go up and dunk it. And he didn't do that. And Steve Kerr pulled him. And he said after the game that it was just about matchups. But I think wholeheartedly that if Wiseman weren't on the floor, and he could be great, if Wiseman weren't on the floor, Steph Curry would be this NBA scoring leader. The numbers when Wiseman is not on the floor are outrageous. Steph Curry scored 37 points last night. He ran 14 pick and rolls. A lot of them were Draymond Green, and it was just music. It was amazing. Like, the defense didn't know what to do. They kept fouling him at the three-point line because they had to have a guy who was just chasing him after the pick and roll, and then he just took a three-pointer, and the guy hit his hand. And that stuff happens all the time. Steph Curry is the number 1 most efficient point guard in pick and rolls in the NBA. And he almost never ran them up until about 10 games ago. And Steve Kerr decided, all right, we got to stop playing this brand of basketball that won us championships, because we had Sean Livingston, we had Andrew Bogut, we had Andre Iguodala, 3 amazing passers. We don't have those passers anymore, so we need to make an adjustment. And they're going more pick and roll style. But he still Stephen Curry is taking 7 pick and rolls scoring plays a game. Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic, and Trae Young are at 14, 13, 12. Steph Curry needs to live in that place the rest of the season because they don't have the passers to do it. Kelly Oubre, James Wiseman are not those passers. And if those guys weren't on the floor, I guarantee you that Steph Curry would be the scoring leader. The Warriors would be a lot better team this year. Would they be a championship team? I don't think so. But Wiseman, the developmental strategy to try to get him minutes and try to get him the ball, it's really handicapping Stephen Curry this year and therefore the Warriors.
What is their starting 5 lineup with Looney at the 5 plus minus? Oubre, Wiseman, Curry, Green, and those 5.
David's just crapping all over the no quizzes rule on me.
Well, I just thought I thought we should
just based on the numbers that it's 118 and the net rating is like.
I was asking for like Devin to be, somebody can look that up while we're talking. I think it's really good. To me, Gerard made a great point here that I was thinking the other day. Devin, look up the starting. Devin's asking. Look up the Looney in place of Wiseman. Oh, you can actually look at Wiseman too, with the other starters they have on the court.
I'm sure it's great.
Because what Gerard said is, can we really talk about the problem here? The Warriors are not light years ahead, which is a quote from, I think, their owner. Their bench is a joke. So forget about Wiseman. It's a whole separate thing. He's a rookie, and what Tom is saying is right. He might be great. I actually think he's going to be amazing, but it's going to be some years. He's a real tall guy that hasn't played in 2 years. Their bench is a joke. I don't think they had a guy get double figures off the bench yesterday. They got destroyed off the bench in their game last night. And yet the Warriors claim to think that they kind of reinvented the wheel with whatever they do. Meanwhile, there's good players all over the place they could have gotten and didn't. From the G League, from drafts. That to me is very disappointing. And one reason why they're so bad when Curry gets off is they have no one else, right?
To create,
at all.
Jordan Poole might be their best scorer outside of Stephen Curry. So just
who might be?
Jordan Poole.
Right, exactly. The defense rests. That's exactly right, Tom. I think you're right. Eric Pascal looked good for a while, and he's since not done as well.
He's amazing against Enes Kanter, I'll tell you that. Eric Pascal loves playing against Enes Kanter and goes at him every single possession and scores on all of them. It's as a Blazer fan,
I do think that Draymond needs to score more for them to be great again down the road. Like when Klay comes back, when they were great, Draymond, you had to guard him. And I think teams have just stopped. He's an incredible player still, but his lack of scoring is problematic to me when you think about them in the postseason in a game where all 5 guys when they're weaponized, they're much harder to guard,
But this LeBron chatter of him trying to recruit Steph after next season, like Steph can be a free agent next summer.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like it's become a thing now is that LeBron James and Steph Curry had so much fun at the All-Star game together that there are already chirps that LeBron James is openly recruiting Stephen Curry to come join the Lakers when he's a free agent next season. I don't think that's going to happen, but you can see a scenario in which Steph Curry watches his team not know how to play modern NBA basketball, don't know how to pass, don't know how to reward good ball movement, or off ball movement. They just don't have a lot of high IQ players. And I can see a world in which Steph Curry is just like, if you guys aren't going to do this, then I don't want to be I want to win a championship before my window is closed. And he could be a free agent at the end of next summer. And I got to imagine if Klay Thompson needs another year to get back to form, remember, he's coming back from an Achilles tear and an ACL tear. This isn't just a one injury that he's come back from. That doesn't have like the sample size of players to come back from an Achilles tear and an ACL tear is not a long list. Okay. So I'm just saying, if I'm Stephen Curry, I am pissed. I am very, very upset about the way the team looks. And also, I still think they should have traded Wiseman and the pick for an amazing put it on the table for Bradley Beal and get it over with, because Steph Curry, Bradley Beal, and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, like that is a championship contender.
But Tom, we need to marry just on this show. We think LeBron will be back and healthy, and the Lakers are practically out of the championship conversation. ergo is LeBron at cliff age, right? Is Methuselah LeBron, right? Like, is he really the partner that is that the bandwagon you joined to get to the championship anymore?
Oh,
Like,
I don't
couldn't
know if
Steph go
that's
better places, basically.
Yeah, I don't think Steph is going to win a championship with LeBron. I'm just saying when you have LeBron chirping about come join the Lakers, that's going to be on the national headlines for
Right.
weeks, and it's going to
100%.
eat at the team, just like Kevin Durant. Where's Kevin Durant going to go? It's going to eat at the team. Get in the locker room, be like, Steph, we're wasting Steph's like Steph could win the scoring title this year, right? But they're developing James Wiseman. They don't have any passers on the team.
Oh,
so
no argument. Like, the Warriors part is rock solid, but to me, like, if you're chasing a ring and you're Steph, like, it's comfortable to think you would go to the Lakers and join LeBron, but maybe not. I mean, maybe realistic next year or the year after, but maybe not at all where you would go, right? If LeBron's at that age, then it's just not, once you're old, you're old.
Well, have you seen that guy LaMelo Ball? He'd be fun to win games with.
Right.
Well, you gotta get. So look at it from this point of view. The Bradley Beal deal can still happen. Like they still can do that this summer.
Yeah.
Right. They can still go get him or whoever else they might want to get. He'd be pretty damn good. Steph Curry would be in Miami, where you've got Bam and Jimmy, right? And get Tyler Hero out west or whatever. That's the deal that I could see happening. I put it on our notes. The jump to and you're not doing this with Wiseman necessarily. Anyone, not just the big men, but big men develop later than everyone. We can all agree on that for lots of reasons. Typically, I put in the document as a rookie, Rudy Gobert averaged 2.3 points per game. Second year, 8.4. Bam Adebayo, 6.9 and then 9. Right? Jokic averaged 10 and 5 and 10 and 7 as a rookie. Giannis 6.8. And who's my last guy? Oh, Vucevic, who is not quite that level. He averaged 5.5 as a rookie for Philadelphia. Big guys develop late. So the Warriors drafted Wiseman, who I thought he was by far the most likely guy that they were going to take because he filled the need. But we have to recognize he didn't play. His high school team played a good schedule. They did. His college team played 3 games, and then COVID hit. They couldn't even go work out all that time. And even now they can't practice. Even if that didn't happen, he'd be slow developing. When I watch him play, he is absolutely lost. Absolutely lost on both ends. The game is going way too fast for him. But guys, based on what we've seen and the people I've talked to, it's going to slow down for him. He is enormously talented, like all those guys I just read. It just isn't on Steph Curry's timetable, right? This pandemic, among other things, is part of the reason. So whether it's Miami, whether it's the Wizards, there are teams out there that want to go for winnings right now and have young talent. And Golden State could pull a deal. I don't know that LA is that team. I actually thought one time, I didn't know about this, I think LeBron should go to San Francisco. Pick a third team to a championship, and get into Silicon Valley and all of that.
He's already got Space Jam. Now he's got to find his Google, right?
Right, exactly.
He's already figured out the whole Hollywood thing, and now let's just go to Silicon Valley.
And I think when you first said that, Tom, my first thought was, well, how many years does Vogel have left on his deal? Because I don't know that Steph's going to go anywhere without Kerr. Like, that seems to be, that's his guy, and as it should be. And of course, he could change, and he plays for other guys in Team USA. But like, Steve Kerr's an easy guy to play for if you're LeBron James.
But LeBron got franchise control, right? He got whole, like, he's not going to play basketball. He's going to run some shit.
Yeah, for sure.
We should bring in Gerard, and then we should talk about MVP, because it seems like you guys have feelings.
It's a wrap.
What happened recently? It's a wrap. There we go. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's a wrap, David? What happened?
He's here.
Hello. How's it going?
Gerard.
How are you?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, I'm just laughing over here, finding so many funny things in this conversation about teams and who's good and who's not and who's winning. It's just all hilarious. Warriors, not light years ahead. Sorry, folks. You know what light years ahead means? Light years ahead means, I have Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. That makes you light years ahead. Not having that, not so much, friends.
Yeah. Although, I mean, Elfin, I'll give him credit. Like, Draymond Green was not Draymond Green, right? Like, I went to the rookie transitions program where everyone's like, I hope he can hang on in the league. Like he's a nice, hard working guy. If we gave an award for being good and speaking up in these sessions at Rookie Musicians Program, he would be the MVP. We just hope he has. They said that the year before about Vincent Yarbrough. Anyone? Like, so to me, they did stuff. Like they made Draymond Green out of nothing.
All right. Okay. We'll give him props for making Draymond Green. But Draymond Green is what? He is a multiplier when you already have Hall of Fame talent. Put Draymond Green on a team with, I don't know, league average NBA players. It ain't winning no title, right? Like it's just, or it's true, but winning team, right? Like,
but there are a lot, there are a lot of Steph Curry rookie year level stars who never sniff the conference finals.
Oh,
right?
Henry,
like
you're stealing the bid, Henry. It's not coming out till Tuesday.
I just say I just think that there is such a thing as organizational strength, and they had it, right? Like they really did get a lot more out of the raw material that they got than it's not just the case of you slap in the big Lego pieces and that's that.
They got lucky that Steph had shitty ankles and they were able to sign him to a relatively cheap deal vis-a-vis how good he actually was, right? Which allowed them to keep that window open longer to sign, Kevin Durant, right? Like that helps when you get to do that.
I mean, I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but the Knicks really wanted Steve Kerr and just couldn't fucking get him, right? But the Warriors did things that made it so he would take that job. And then he did make a little charcuterie board of like, we're not going to put stuff here. We're going to put stuff here. Right. And like,
no doubt.
Like, that's all like,
also comparing the Warriors to the worst run franchise in the past 25 years, right? Like they are atrocious. Sorry, Randy.
I think guys, there's room. There's a lot of wiggle room here. There's a lot of gray area. I vividly remember going, I knew the guys that were doing this too, watching Golden State's player development, thinking, okay, they're better than a lot of the teams out there. And I don't mean for Steph Curry. I meant just for their typical players. Not that they had a success every time they didn't. Kerr deserves a lot of credit for what he did. I'm not sure what good credit management gets. They did win 73 games without Durant, for sure. And the fact that they got Durant and all of that, that's fine. But we can evaluate him right now, guys. And it's not gone well. It's not gone well for whatever reason. Tom's point about Curry being frustrated, I get it. Like, I absolutely get it. I thought that they did a terrible job building out the roster, right? The Jazz are 9 deep. The Warriors are 4 deep, right? And they have Steph Curry. It shouldn't have been hard to be deep or 5 deep, whatever you want to call the Warriors. Starting 5 is good. Looney's good. And Wiseman's a rookie. And you don't have to play him 30 minutes a game. You could play him 15, 20 minutes a game, like Gobert did for Utah, and Bam for Miami, he'd be just fine. But they don't have anybody. They've done a poor job evaluating talent, in my opinion.
I did a poor job of evaluating how good Aaron Gordon would be on the.
Oh, look what Tom did! He did the segue. Nice job, Tom.
I loved him in Denver. Yeah.
I thought it was a good addition. I didn't think it would elevate them into championship contenders, but I will tell you this: Nikola Jokic has wrapped up the MVP award, barring injury, of course, because of Aaron Gordon's acquisition, has unlocked even more of Jokic's talents, where they would run this play last night against Aaron Gordon's former team, by the way, which was just dirty. It was mean how good Aaron Gordon was next to Jokic. Aaron Gordon would dribble the ball up the court and pass to Jokic at the top of the key. And they would run a high-low, basically him in the high post. And then they would run Aaron Gordon off a back screen, or I don't know if that's the right term. Yeah. Someone would screen, and then Aaron Gordon would go towards the basket, and Jokic found him every single time. Aaron Gordon for a dunk, Aaron Gordon for an and one. Aaron Gordon is shooting 64% from the floor with the Denver Nuggets. He is 40% of his baskets are dunks now. Before in Orlando, it was 15%. So he's more than doubled his rate of dunks by virtue of just playing with Nikola Jokic. Okay. Secondly, their offensive rating with Jokic and Aaron Gordon on the floor this season, it's been 4 games, but pardon me for the small sample size. The number is outrageous. 129.6 offensive rating. 129 points per 100 possessions is insane. Insane. It's the highest for any duo in the NBA. Comparatively, Kevin Durant with James Harden on the floor is at 123. And they have a small sample size as well. But even James Harden and Kevin Durant right now are a step below what we're seeing with Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic, because he's a walking dunk. He can shoot the three. He can dribble the floor. And Jokic, when he's weaponized in the high post and you got cutters coming through, like, good luck. It has been amazing to watch. MVP Jokic solidified with the acquisition of Aaron Gordon.
Do you think so too, Gerard? I think he's going to win the MVP. What do you think?
Not only is he the MVP, he is the OPOY, the award that we have decided to pick out.
Who's Offensive Player of the Year?
He is for sure the Offensive Player of the Year, and without question, MVP. Like, he's masterful. Like, it's just watching this dude play. And I knew, Tom, when they got Aaron Gordon, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be insane, because again, you become overqualified for your role. Aaron, don't worry about initiating anything. No. You just move around, we'll find you. Don't worry. Like, and that's what's happening.
The action that Tom described, basically, we call it UCLA cut. If you watch a game and the guard throws the ball to the wing, and then there's a player, you can run it out of horns, which are two guys on the elbows, or you can go a single elbow action. And then he runs off that screen. That's how UCLA used to start their offense all the time. They used to call it a 1-4 offense with John Wooden. What they've inverted a little bit, where instead of throwing it to the wing, they throw it to Jokic at a horns extended, and then they set the back screen on the other side, the other elbow back screen, and the Magic did a terrible job defending it. It shouldn't be that hard to defend, by the way. It's not so easy to defend, but it's not the hardest thing to defend. They did a terrible job. But to your point, Jokic is that quarterback, right? I don't watch football anymore, but I saw the Super Bowl anyway. And Tom Brady is an old man. He still can read the game. So it's amazing what quarterbacks in football do with 11 guys on the field. That's what Jokic is doing. And so he calculates very quickly. He just sees where you're lined up, like, yeah, that guy's screwed. I already know exactly what to do once we do it. He's that brilliant of a passer and a player. I mean, don't forget, Jokic gets buckets in the playoffs, in the clutch too.
Like, the most beautiful basketball, in my opinion, is the give and go, is where a guard passes it to the big man, and then the big man finds him, and either for a layup or a three-pointer. Like Draymond Green, Steph Curry mastered this, where Steph Curry would pass it to Draymond, and he would dart to the three-point line and hit a three-pointer. Like, you're seeing that with Aaron Gordon, dribbling the ball up in a fast break, give and go with Jokic, and it's Aaron Gordon on, like, with speed, on the move, catch, dunk. And last night against Orlando, they were down by like a bazillion points, came back to win the game. Just so hard to defend when everyone's a live ball on the floor. And that's what the Denver Nuggets are with that starting five, with Will Barton, Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. Like, it's absurd how many offensive weapons they have.
It's looking like Denver could surge to the 2 or 3 spot, Phoenix. Yep. And that's a hell of a matchup too. Phoenix, by the way, is also, Utah's on a 9-game win streak and can't increase their lead in the West. They're still only 3 games up in the loss column over Phoenix, although they play, I think, early this week. Utah plays Dallas, Phoenix back to back. That's big, because if they get enough of a cushion, they can really rest even more in May. But it could be a Denver, Utah, and no LA teams in the Western Conference Finals.
It's the MVP conversation. I just looked at that little chart of Vegas odds because I just wanted to see what Vegas thought. East Coast is most of the voters, and they don't watch a lot of Denver, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of impulse to. It's why I think why Embiid was so exciting in the conversation for a while. Part of me is like, yeah, I guess it looks like it's definitely Jokic now, but like, I feel like if James Harden scores 50 the rest of the way out, whatever, like that, I feel like it's not totally done because it's not really about basketball, right? There's a little bit of
popularity.
You'd like to give it to a team that has the best record in the league or close, right? You'd like to give it a team that is on national TV a lot, et cetera. And
did Jokic break Will Chamberlain's assist record?
He did. Most 10 plus assist games by a center. Yes. Yesterday, I think.
He's in his 20s.
Yeah, no, he's ridiculous. Like, he is a ridiculous. Listen, for us, Henry, case closed. MVP, OPOY, done. This is already over.
Yeah. THOPY, True Hoops Offensive Player of the Year, or JH, Gerard Hector's Offensive Player of the Year. You own it. No one else has done it.
By the way, you didn't see. I mean, you commended me for my segue, but Gerard's segue from the Nikola Jokic discussion into the OPOY was phenomenal. So
very smooth.
Thank you. A tease for this week about NBA championships. Henry always calls it a lottery, 1 out of 30. It's just going to be about who's healthy, and it might just be the Utah Jazz.
Hey, Gerard, we got to do a JH offensive first team of the league too.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. All right, I'm on that.
Harden's on it too.
Yeah, it's man.
He's ridiculous, man.
Picking 5 is so hard, man. It's just like, damn, these dudes are so good. But yeah,
there's always 7 or 10 that deserve it, right?
Oh.
Okay, legal's on our case, everybody. Let's try to be punctual. It is show time for the show to end. Thank you very much for joining us, Tom, David, Judy. We'll see you on Wednesday.